Good morning. Welcome to your Friday Faith Fill Up. This past week I was reading in the book of Daniel and I saw something repeated as a description of Daniel, and that was that he had an excellent spirit. And that really got me to thinking about what it really means to have the kind of spirit that people would recognize and say, now there's a person that has an excellent spirit. And so I get into the Word of God and start studying that just a little bit. And we find some markers. And just one thing that I came across that just really jumped out at me that I think is really interesting that we can all apply to our lives. And that's found in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 27 says, "He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit." So you find understanding being tied to it, but the next verse goes on. "Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding." So the understanding and the excellent spirit seem to go hand in hand. But for the understanding to be there, we find that there is a need, if you will, for silence to take place. That word excellent, though, in verse number 27, we'll look at that for just a second here. The word excellent there, it's not about being outgoing. I think when we think of maybe describing somebody of an excellent spirit, they're just pleasant to be around, or they're outgoing or gregarious, or maybe they're the friendliest person that we know, or something like that. But it's interesting, this word is translated in other places as costly or precious. So that gives you the idea of what excellent there has to do with. So it's something that is very important, and I think valuable is probably a good word that describes it. But in Proverbs here, we find as part of this description here, it's somebody that can spare their words, to someone that cannot say the things that are coming to their mind as quickly as they come to our mind. And even a fool, the next verse says that if he can be quiet, people are going to look at that person and say, boy, they must be wise, just because of the silence that is there. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So I was thinking about the excellent spirit in the tie that is here to understanding, and the result, or which is the result of holding our tongue or being quiet. And I realize that an excellent spirit has something to do with things that we don't do, probably as much as things that we would do. But the thing that we don't do, as we find here, is we don't have to utter all of our mind. We don't have to say everything that comes to our mind. And many times we utter those things, and it ends up hurting a relationship, hurting a friendship, and many times that damage is irreversible. And so we have to remember the idea of the excellent spirit is really thinking about what we're going to say and how we're going to respond to people, regardless of what their disposition is, that we're going to respond to them and speak to them in a pleasant way. And over in the book of James deals quite a bit with the tongue. In chapter 1 and verse number 6 starts talking about bridling the tongue, that we need to take it and we need to have a full control over our tongue. And listen, if we're going to be somebody that is known for having an excellent spirit, one of the things that I think we all really need to work on is what we're saying, the things that come out of our mouth. We may be able to come into a room and everybody says, boy, that person is just pleasant, they're happy, they're everything about them is good, they're excellent to be around. But then we can start talking, and we can say something that hurts them, we can say something that badmouths somebody else, or whatever the case may be. And all of those things that we'd be saying, after we walk out of the room, somebody would say, man, that person just has a horrible spirit about them. That quickly, just by what we say, somebody's thought about our spirit can be altered by that. So let's think about that. Let's consider what it is to have an excellent spirit. I think that's something we all, I'm sure, would desire to have. But to get to that place, we need to learn to bridle our tongue and realize that just because it hits our mind doesn't mean it needs to hit our lips. Well, I hope this has been a blessing to you. We'll see you on Sunday morning.